Welcome to the Sports Spectrum Podcast, where faith and sports collide. Here's your host, Jason Romano.
Welcome, everyone, to the Sports Spectrum Podcast. This is episode number 100, and we have an exciting announcement to bring to you guys in just a moment. But I just want to start by saying thank you to everyone who has listened to this podcast, who has shared this podcast, who has downloaded it, who has subscribed to the podcast on iTunes or Google Play or wherever you listen. We are so appreciative of you. And we have reached 100 episodes now, and it's been an amazing journey. Just about a year or so ago, late March of 2017, we started this podcast, and it's been going strong now for 100 episodes, and we've reached this sort of, monumental number, and we're so grateful to have you joining us here on the show. And our big announcement today is we are excited to present and to bring to you our first sponsor of the Sports Spectrum Podcast, and it's wonderful to announce that we're going to be partnering with Compassion International, and they do great work. Compassion.com is the website. Go check it out, and it's just an amazing partnership to be a part of. They're a Christ-centered, church-based ministry, and simply put, they work. It works what they do. Through sponsors like you and I, Compassion is releasing children from poverty in Jesus' name, over 1.8 million people so far. And I'm someone who knows this because I have done this for many years. I've been a part of what Compassion is all about. We sponsor a child through Compassion, a teenager, a young 13-year-old from Haiti, a young boy that we sponsor. And it's been a blessing to be a part of. I remember when we first joined Compassion, and the reason was we wanted my daughter to see that there were people who were in need and that we could help. And I remember Sarah, my daughter, sitting on the website and searching for some of the people to sponsor and to pick a child. And we were looking for somebody who was the exact or close to the same age as her and had similar interests and all of that. And we were looking all over the world, which is what Compassion does. It helps these kids who are in poverty all over the world. And it really just prevents them from having the basic needs of life. But even more powerful than poverty, of course, we know this, is the hope of Jesus, the care of their local church, the encouragement of a sponsor. And the cool thing with us when we do our Compassion sponsorship is we write letters, which you can do right on the website, or you can do it the old-fashioned way and putting it in an envelope. But right on their website, you can go and you can just write your sponsored child a letter or a card. You can upload some photos and send it to them. And it's a really neat thing to stay connected with this child. It almost reminds me of when I was a kid and having a pen pal. This is what this is, but you know that your $38, which is a sponsorship that you pay each month to sponsor these children, you know where that's going. You know that it's helping to fund this child's and moving towards education and tutoring, medical care and the food that they need, vocational training as they get older, and certainly the most important part, the opportunity to know Jesus Christ. So I want to invite you. I'm going to even challenge you a little bit here to simply make room around your dinner table to help a child who needs you. So join me and sponsor a child with Compassion today. We are so grateful to have them partnering with us and sponsoring this podcast at Sports Spectrum. Again, $38 a month, and your sponsorship provides access to school and medical care, food and vocational training, and the opportunity to know who Jesus Christ is. Every child is being discipled through Compassion in the Word of God, and over 150,000 children have chosen to follow Christ just in the last year alone. This works, and it's $38, so I want to personally encourage you to sponsor with Compassion. Go to compassion.com to learn more, and you'll never regret it. I promise you, you will never regret the $38 a month that goes towards sponsoring a child. Compassion is the most trusted child development ministry in the world. You will not be disappointed. Go to compassion.com. Today's guest on the podcast, she is Jennie Finch. She's one of the most dominant athletes in the last 20 years in all of sports. The 2004 U.S. Olympic gold medalist in softball, a 2008 U.S. Olympic silver medalist in softball, 7-time U.S.A Softball World Champion, and a College World Series champion during her time at Arizona. If you watched her, she had a point where she won 60 straight decisions. In her junior year, she went 32-0 in college and had an ERA of 0.54. Just utter domination. And now she's the official softball ambassador for Major League Baseball. And she's got some breaking news at the end of this interview, which I kind of think is already out there, but she's going to be participating with Dancing with the Stars, their new season as well with ABC. Jennie is also very outspoken about her faith, and she doesn't hide that. If you follow her on Twitter and Instagram, you know where her faith stands, you know where she stands. She's also a mom to 3 kids and married to Casey, has been married for 13 years or so now. But she's great. And Jennie is somebody who's been on my bucket list, somebody I've wanted to have on this podcast for a long time. So without further ado, let's get right to it. She is the 2004 U.S. Olympic gold medalist, maybe the most dominant softball pitcher we've ever seen. She is Jennie Finch. Jennie, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's an honor to be number 100.
It is number 100. It's amazing that we even got to 100. So it's been quite a journey, but I love telling the stories of sports and faith, and certainly you kind of fall into both of those categories for sure. So let's get to your journey a little bit. I'd love to talk to you more about that. So let's start with the first time that you picked up a softball. I'm always curious about an elite athlete when they first got into what they're elite at, I guess. So tell us about that little girl, Jennie, and when you first learned how to pitch and play the game of softball.
So I started when I was 5 years old. I have 2 older brothers. They both played baseball, and one is 10 years older and one's 5 years older. So there's quite a bit of age difference there. But I just wanted to be like them. And they played baseball, and my little city league had softball. So my parents signed me up. And for me, this is awesome because I got to experience winning for the first time. Growing up with 2 older brothers, that didn't happen very often.
Right.
And so it was neat because it was similar to what they did, but kind of cooler because girls did it and it was a little different, but yet the same game. And I fell in love with it. I started pitching when I was 8. I started competing on a travel team when I was 10. We went to our first nationals. And I think that was the first time that I realized, like, hey, this softball thing, this could be something, something serious and something special. And so that kind of is where the turning point was, where our lives turned from having a family vacation every now and then to softball tournaments, and that was our family vacations.
I am living through that right now, my friend, with my daughter Sarah, for sure. But you say it was around 10 or so when you realized that this thing might be, a real thing. But was there a moment? Is there an aha moment for you when you realized, you know what, I'm pretty good at this? Was there that moment, that specific game maybe or time frame?
I think probably around there, because I just remember it hit me like this this was where all of the best teams in the country were playing, and to be able to be competing against girls from all over the country, and we ended up getting second, and then it was like, wow, this is special. And then we went on and we won our first national championship in 12 and under. And so I think that was the point. Like, if we're the best team in the nation, like this is something pretty neat. And I think that's when you started realizing, the talent that we had as a team, and what I could do. And then right around the corner was college. College is approaching, around 14 years old. So that's when I think I realized, like, wow, this could be my ticket to college and furthermore.
If anyone follows you on social media, Jennie, they know your faith in Christ is important to you. Certainly this podcast is the intersection of sports and faith. We'll go a little deeper in a little while on your faith, I think, but take us to the moment when you're at this age where faith is in your life. Is that part of your life growing up, or is that something that came later?
No, I feel extremely blessed that I was raised in the church. I was raised with a relationship with Jesus, and that was always our priority. I think even though it was crazy and there was times where I feel like the craziness takes over and the busyness takes over,
Yeah.
but it always came down to our faith and our talent and what came first. And I remember I would go to church in my uniform, and our church had a drive-in service, so you could park up your car and turn the radio to the station and listen. And we did that a couple times when we have to leave early to go. And my parents are really big on making sure that I was involved midweek, because a lot of the weekends we were. And I know, being a parent now raising our kids, it's hard because, of course, like my parents always felt like this was a God-given gift and talent.
Yeah.
And how do you manage that? When it is hard, you want to be in church on Sunday and you should be there, but at the same time, You are using God's gift. And so kind of and I'm so thankful that my parents used our faith to teach me about so many of the tough moments in life. And there was always a bigger picture and a bigger perspective there than just me and my talents and what I was going to accomplish. It was a greater sense of everything. It was God. It was our faith. It was more than just me and our family.
So you mentioned a struggle though as a mom now, and I live that struggle as a dad too because ingrained in my church. I'm a leader in my church, and yet sometimes sports happens on the weekends, especially Sunday mornings. Even now with my daughter, I wonder for you, how do you balance that? Do you try to take what your parents did with you as well, or is that a real struggle? Because it's a struggle for me. I want her in church, but I also want her to experience that sports competitiveness as a kid and just the camaraderie that comes with being, on a team and learning lessons that way too. How do you balance that?
Like you said, it's tough. It's not easy. We do the
Yeah.
best we can. They are involved in midweek church, which we actually ended up changing churches because our old church didn't have a Wednesday night youth program,
Mm.
and I knew that I wanted them involved. I want them to be raised with other believers. I feel like I could just picture them linking arms and taking on the world together.
Yeah.
And we need that accountability. We need that brotherhood and sisterhood, and I think even as an adult, I crave that. And like you said, on Sunday mornings, when you're not in there, you do feel disconnected in a way. And so trying to figure it out, luckily, whether it's Saturday night service or Sunday morning services or Sunday night, we always try to manage. And even if we are on the road, we try to make it a priority to find a local church. And that's been fun too, just to experience other churches in different areas and different cities. And just letting our kids know that is the most important thing in our lives.
We're talking to Jennie Finch here on the Sports Spectrum podcast. 2004 U.S. Olympic gold medalist in softball, 2008 Olympic silver medalist, 7-time U.S.A Softball World Champion, joining us here on the podcast. Jennie, what was high school like for you? It's so tough I'm watching Sarah now going from 8th to 9th grade and transitioning into high school next year and what that's like. It's such a tough thing being a young teenage girl. Obviously you had your sports as well, but what was that like for you growing up as a teen in the 90s?
Oh, it makes my stomach hurt just thinking about it.
I know, right?
If and even like with my kids, I'm like, don't sweat the little things, especially being a young girl. It's like, oh, if you could only see in the big picture and what truly matters and what truly counts and the important things.
Yeah.
But it is hard, and I lived it. And so I think I was always bigger than everybody else. I was always just athletic. I was always gone on the weekends, and I was practicing during the week, so it wasn't like I was very social. But luckily, the Lord gave me an awesome group of 5 other girls that were believers, and I don't know where I would be without them, to be honest. And what a gift their friendship has been for my entire life. But I think it would just be find your people, and obviously we love everybody and soak it up and make the most of it and don't sweat the little things. But it wasn't easy, there's a lot of drama, a lot of just, especially this day and age, adding technology into it. I think about, it was
Yeah.
hard enough back when we went, let alone now when there's no escape really. And so, um, I say just focus on the good and take it one day at a time and be you. Be who you were created to be who you were called to be. And it's not going to be easy. Life isn't going to be easy, but control what you can control, and the rest will take care of itself.
That's good advice, especially knowing that you have a very large platform and an impact on a lot of young girls. So that's really good advice there. We're talking to Jennie Finch here on the podcast on Sports Spectrum. You get to Arizona, and I remember that's the first place where I had begun to hear about your accomplishments. Specifically, I think that 2001 season when you were as dominant as you can be as a softball pitcher, 32-0 and an ERA of 0.54, 279 strikeouts, national champions. At one point, you set an NCAA record, winning 60 straight decisions in a span of nearly 2 years. So let's go back on the field a little bit. Start with your time on the field at Arizona. Utter domination, really. Why did everything click in your eyes in Arizona? Why was it just like, man, this is it. I got it.
You know, my freshman year wasn't what I'd hoped it to be. And when you go to Arizona, you hope to win a national championship. That's why you're there.
Yeah.
And we fell short my freshman year. And I remember just being on my own. And my dad was always my backbone. He was my pitching coach, and he wasn't there to push me and be on me all the time. And in a way, I didn't even realize I was slacking in some areas. He created a shoulder exerciser called the Finch windmill, and back at home I had to do it every day. Well, here I was on my own, and so I wasn't. It was too much. It was a lot. We were lifting weights and on the field for a long time, and add school on top of it. It was overwhelming. But I think after my freshman, and anybody else would have said it was a great freshman year, but for me, and I think too, I made it into this something bigger, and I didn't realize like this is the same game I've been playing my whole life. Like these girls I just played against in high school. It's not. Don't make it bigger than it is, and obviously it is huge. It's Division I platform to play, and competing for national championship, always top ranked college. But at the same time, it was like just take it one pitch at a time and do everything you can to prepare. And I remember going into my sophomore year, leading up to that 60 game consecutive winning streak, and we went down to ASU to compete, and I ended up losing. And I was the pitcher, and we had like I want to say it was an 8-year winning streak against ASU. We were like 36-0 against them, and here I fell short. 7th inning, we had the lead, and I gave up a fat rise ball and gave up a home run. And I just remember thinking that was my lowest point of my college career, was that loss to ASU. Because if you go to Arizona, you don't lose to ASU, right? Big in-state rivalry.
Right.
And I just remember I let my coach down, my teammates down, the tradition of Arizona softball. And then I was writing my book, Throw Like a Girl, and I was coming up with stories. And of course, my parents are a huge part of who I am. And so I was trying to refer back to them, and they have a better memory than I do. And they said, well, my dad was like, hey, do you remember that loss to ASU? And I was like, Dad, you would. Of course I remember that loss. It was, one of the toughest losses of my career. And I just remember burying my head in my dad's chest before I got on that bus. And I was just thinking, like, I don't want to lose again. And sure enough, I didn't realize that was the loss then, which I don't know how I didn't realize it, but that was the next game was the beginning of my 60 game consecutive winning streak. And I just think, like, God is so good. Just when I thought that was the lowest point of my career, like he started one of the highest points of my career. That's a record that still lasts today. And it's always a fun story to tell. Like, just when you think you're in that slump, you never know what the next swing is going to bring, or the next pitch, or the next day. But you got to keep showing up, and you got to keep plugging away and doing what you can and control what you can. And some of those toughest moments that we have, and I look back at my career, my hardest, and not so much even on the field, it was off the field stuff that I had to deal with. I look back and I'm so much stronger because of those. And I'm so thankful for the failure, for the heartbreaks, because it did motivate me to push even harder and to find out who I really was and what I was fully capable of doing. And then from there, that was it started my sophomore year, and then my junior year, we ended up going undefeated, 32-0 into that final game. And talk about pressure, right? Here I was, it was UCLA, and that's what at Arizona back in the day, that was like UCLA Arizona rivalry. So I couldn't even have painted a prettier picture like of who we wanted to face in the final game of the World Series. And here we were, and I'm like, just praying for the game, like, Lord, don't make this be the game. Like, undefeated all season, like, you don't want to lose the final game on the biggest stage here in Oklahoma City at the Women's College World Series. And sure enough, we ended up, our catcher hit a home run, and we won 1-0. And just what a thrill that was. We had 8 seniors that year, so they would have been the first class in I don't know how many years not to have a national championship. So I think I was even more excited just for them to send them out. And what a relief that it was, helping them win a national championship and going out on top. And what a thrill it was. And I think, too, for our sport, that was the first year that every game was on TV. Yeah. Or in the past, it was only the championship game, and it was usually tape delayed. But they had just started showing our sport. And coming back, and that's actually the year that the Arizona Diamondbacks won their World Series championship. And so it was a great buzz for the state of Arizona. And I remember that year in 2002, my senior season, a lot of the players were in Tucson for spring training. They started coming out to our games, and I ended up doing a photo shoot with Kurt Schilling and Randy Johnson on both sides of me. And it was like, who's the best pitcher in Arizona? And that moment for me was like, what? Like, how in the world did I end up here? This is crazy. And I just remember even Coach Kendra, our coach, was so pumped to go out to spring training and, meet these guys and do the photo shoot with me. And how fun it was. And that was just the beginning of so many doors being opened and so many incredible opportunities that I was able to experience through softball.
Were you able to, in those 60 straight games that you're winning, were you able to enjoy it? Because success is one thing, but like when you're utterly dominating the opponent, is it just you're locked in and you're going in, or are you actually able to kind of step back for a minute and look at it, or does that not take place till it's over?
You know, I don't even know if I realized it until years later.
Hmm.
I think you're so tunnel vision focused in, and I always, as much as the media hype was around it and every single game, right? There was that pressure. I was always just trying to focus on this next game, and it was like nothing in the past matters. That's all in the past. It's this game, and so really just trying to be present in that and not carry that pressure, even though I would say I tried not to, but it was still there a little bit, but
Yeah.
I think too, even when I tell young athletes, it's like one pitch at a time. It's not a college scholarship. It's not a state championship. It's not even a win or loss. It's the next pitch, the next play, the next day, just, and I think too, with just the pressure in everything now and how many things young athletes have on their plates. I always try to emphasize it's what you're doing at that moment. If you're in the classroom, be the best student you can be. If you're on the field, that's your time to be the best, player athlete you can be.
Jennie Finch joins us here on the Sports Spectrum podcast, brought to you by Compassion. Go to compassion.com, Compassion International, where you can sponsor a child for $38 a month, and your sponsorship provides access to school care, medical care, food, vocational training, and the opportunity to know Jesus Christ. It works. It's an amazing ministry. 150,000 children chose to follow Christ in the last year alone just through Compassion. So go to compassion.com and sponsor a child today. 2 years later, you make it to the Olympics and you win the gold medal. And I wonder, and I know that's something that you even have on your, on your book. And my daughter loves, like, she's a gold medalist, Dad. She's a gold medalist. And I wonder what your experience was like, and what that meant for the game of softball, winning that gold medal in 2004.
For me, what a thrill it was. What a dream. Here I was. So 1996, that was the first year that softball became an Olympic sport. So when I was growing up too, I was like, I want to be a baseball player. Then as I got older, I was like, wait a minute, there's no women in the major leagues. How's that going to work? And then my parents started introducing me to college softball. We would go out and watch college tournaments, and go to the college games, and I could see kind of my dream right in front of me. And then to be able to experience that. And I remember in 1996 going to watch the U.S. team play, and they were playing just right over in Bellflower, a couple cities over on their tour. And I remember just being in awe of the way they played, the passion they had for the game, and waiting in line for their autographs after the game. And then here I was 8 years later, sharing a dugout with four of those same women. It was surreal. And just to be able to have the opportunity to train next to them, to experience that. And I think the timing of everything, the opportunities that were coming for women in sport, and then being able to go into 2004, and we lost our coach right before, our coach's wife. We lost her to a brain aneurysm on our last stop before the Olympic Games. And for me, obviously she was like, family to us, because my coach coached me at Arizona as well. So we got to the airport, our last stop, and she would always kind of go ahead of the team, and she ended up falling to the floor with a seizure, and within 36 hours she was gone from us. And here we were, I'd been training for a year, 10 to 12 hours a day, so tunnel visioned on that gold medal, and at that moment no one was thinking about the Olympics or the gold medal. And here we are a couple weeks out, and just heartbroken for coach, for his kids, for his family, her family. And we went home for the break, and coach said there's no way that she would want him anywhere else than in Athens, Greece. And he came and muscled through that, and coached us and led us to the gold. But we were so trained and so ready, and we had worked so hard. And I think for the first time, we really used and incorporated technology into our game and into our training. And we were doing things that nothing that hadn't been done, I think, in preparation for our sport, whether it was, visual training from seeing a podiatrist. Coach gave us anything and everything we could possibly need and want, or even we didn't even know some of the things that were available for us to be fully prepared going in, and we plummeled through our opponents. We outscored them. What was it? I think 54-1 those
Yeah.
Olympic games, and coming off those games, and I just remember being on that gold medal podium. And here I was with women that I looked up to, and hearing the national anthem play, and I heard them talk about that moment so many times, and to experience that with them. And I just remember looking in, and the national anthem playing, the gold medal around my neck, looking into my family, and what a thrill it was to have both my brothers and sister-in-laws there, and my parents there to witness that moment with me, because it was so much more than me, and that was my support group, my backbone. And I remember looking into coach and just thinking, the Lord used that moment to tell me that there's so much more than that gold medal. And I was taking in all of those emotions, and for sure I cannot take anything away from the gold medal. But I just remember looking in, and God speaking to me, saying, that this is going to tarnish one day. And part of me, like, I had to chuckle at the same time, because I was like, God, really? You're going to use this moment to tell me I'm not nearly as cool and awesome and amazing as I thought I was, and the world thinks I am right now,
Yeah.
with my teammates being on top of it all with this gold medal. But I'm so thankful that he did use that moment, because what a testimony it is for me to share too, because we can get so caught up in so many other things, and it's like all of this is going to fade away one day, but our hope in him is for eternity. And that's what we're living for. That's what we're competing for. That's what we're striving for, is eternity. And to be able to share that hope with others, and in the darkest of moments, we can always come back to that if we know and love and believe in Jesus Christ.
I love that. Now, in your prime, and I love this story that I was reading the other day, obviously an elite female athlete, very beautiful woman, and you're offered opportunities, large amounts of money to pose in magazines and places like Playboy, and you refuse that. And obviously, we can understand now with the foundation you've had with your parents and everything that you were brought up, why. But why was that so important to you? And was there temptation there to say yes based upon some of the offers that were coming in that maybe didn't align with what you were believing?
Obviously, Playboy was not even a consideration, but there were some other male magazines where it's like, this would be a great opportunity to grow the game, and and that was kind of, I feel like, just my career was. It was almost like all these firsts being thrown at me, and how amazing it was, and I get to showcase what we can do, and what my teammates, how amazing they are, and how great the game of fast pitch softball is. And so I remember talking with my brothers, and I said, I'm debating. I don't know if I should do it or not. And my brother was like, well, Jen, how would you feel if a little girl walked in to the store and said, look, there's Jennie,
Mm.
Mom, I want to get that magazine. And it's not so much what your article is, but it's the next article or the other article. And it was like, oh my gosh, it just was like a knife to the heart. Like, okay, there's no way. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't even think about what's next to me. It was more just about the sport and the game and the opportunity and growing it. And it was like, oh, for sure, no way. And I'm so thankful that I could always go back to my family, and it was, my grandma, she was like my prayer warrior. I
Mm.
always knew that I was covered, even from a young girl. My greatest fan. And I was just thinking, there's no way, like, no way, and I always tell young girls do this too. Like, if you don't want your grandma seeing it, if you can't tell your grandma it, you shouldn't be posting it, and you shouldn't be saying it. So I'm just so thankful for that foundation and the support system that I had surrounding me. And I think too that I was able to make those decisions, um, as well. I know a lot of people are pressured just financially and all of those things, but I think if we just stay on our path, and make those and we're, it's going to be challenging, but I think go into prayer, go back to those people who truly love you, who truly know you, your accountability sisters, brothers, and ask them. I think that's, we need to, we're in this together, for sure.
Well, especially in this day and age, thinking, I know you're a little younger than I am, but just if we had social media and technology back then, I don't know what would have happened in my life. And I see these young girls now, and it's so much about identity and the perfect picture and the perfect outfit and all that. And that's
Hmm.
such a struggle for young women. And I think, or for young girls. And I think your example there is a really good one about just not getting caught up in that. And especially people of faith. Do you encounter backlash on that at all? I just wonder, from being, a public figure, obviously an elite athlete, and you're out there and you're doing so many great things still, even though you've retired from pitching, about being open in your faith, because it says we're gonna experience trials and we're gonna experience backlash in the Bible. I wonder for you, that type of backlash, what you've experienced and how you kind of persevere through that.
I think looking back, I feel like there was a difference, and I love that song, I Want to Be Different,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because we want Jesus to shine through us. And I look back and I just realized that we weren't always, we weren't the cool family, we weren't the partiers, we weren't all of those things. And at times I wanted to be that, obviously, but we are called to be different. We are called to stand out, and it's not always easy. It's not, it's not always easy, especially when you are by yourself. I look back and many times I was the only believer or person that was outspoken about their faith. And in college, that was tested too, so many times. And I feel like, oh God, I hope I didn't screw up too much. I look back thinking just the possibility that what could have been, and it's like,
Yeah.
no, Satan, get out of here. It's not about the past. It's how we're changed by him and how he works in our lives. And there were definitely moments, I feel like, but when it comes down to it, what truly matters, and like we always, we're talking about, it's your faith, it's your family,
Yeah.
and that's what's going to be there for the rest of your life. And that those are the people who truly do matter, what they think about you, and what we know is true. And that's even with my 11-year-old now. It's like, okay, you heard this. Well, let's go back to God's word
Mm-hmm.
and let's line it up with the word, and then that's our truth. And we'll see how that plays into and I just and tears to my eyes.
Yeah.
So thankful and grateful that we can always go back to God's word as a truth, and to see how and what He says about things, not the world or not the internet. And it's so funny because it's like, oh, well, just Google it, right? So our kids are being raised in, well, you just Google it. Well, and now I've told them, like, you can't Google everything, and just because it's on the internet, it's not true. But it's like,
Yeah.
well, Mom, if you want to know anything, you just say Google it, with school or anything like that. And it's like, no. Like, our Google is the Bible. We go back to the Bible and see about those things.
That's really good. Now, a couple more minutes here with Jennie Finch on the Sports Spectrum podcast. I've mentioned my daughter a few times, Jennie, Sarah, playing softball, 13 years old, and probably your biggest fan. You probably got a million biggest fans, but she's so fond of you, and you're one of her heroes. So I told her if I ever got a chance to interview you on the podcast, I'd let her ask you a question. So I recorded this. She's in school while I'm taping this with you. So I'm going to play this off my phone. Here's Sarah Romano asking you a question, Jennie.
Hey Jennie, it's Sarah. I was wondering how you overcame all the obstacles with your coaches and all the people that told you that you couldn't pitch or you weren't good enough when you were younger, and how you overcame that.
There you go. What do you think?
All right. Well, Sarah, thanks for taking the time to tape that and to ask me that question. I love it. And I think even today, it still is with me. I think we can control the controllables, and that's something that sport teaches us. We can't control the umpires. We can't control our coaches. We can't control a lot of things. We can't control, what life brings, but we can control how we respond to those things. And I look back at so many of those tough moments and thinking, like, those moments, that person could have broke me. And and in my career, and I could have quit. I could have believed them, but I knew that there was more. And I think you dig deep, and you just keep working hard. You do the best that you can be. And that my dad always told me when I was younger, like, it doesn't matter what so-and-so is doing, you be the best that you can be. God made you to be you, and there's only one of you, so you be the best version of you possible. And as much as I didn't like hearing that growing up, and now my kids hear it all the time,
Right.
because it is so true. There is a bigger picture, and, don't believe the lies, the negativity. And if you're doing something special, people are going to try to take you down. Even if you're not, people are going to try to take you down. And so it's just a matter of believing who God says you are and what He's called you to be. And He created you to be you, and He has the perfect plan for you. So keep striving hard, keep working hard, and don't believe those lies. Don't fall for it. Keep being great, keep making a difference, and keep loving people.
Two more questions here with Jennie Finch. Great answer there, by the way. Hopefully I'm Dad of the Year now because I let her ask that. At least for a week, I'll be Dad of the Week, right? Today, you're a mom of 3. You're a wife. You're running softball camps. You got the Jennie Finch World Series in June down in Louisiana. even though you're retired, you're as busy as ever. So take us to today and just kind of what you're doing and how you're kind of managing it all.
Yeah, it's not easy. Woo, I know my husband, I can't tell you how many times he looks at me. He's like, you said this was going to all end. Like you said it was going to slow down one day, and then it'll slow down, baby. It'll slow down. He's like, you keep saying that, Jennie. You keep saying that, but it's not. But I'm so thankful it's not, because it is an amazing thing. I feel so incredibly blessed to be able to go around and encourage others. The first softball ambassador for Major League Baseball, that is even a title, and that I can be that person and go around and meet the future of our sport, baseball or softball, and make a difference, hopefully, and impact those. And I just this last year, I feel like God's been telling me, it's, yes, you can go out and make a difference too, but it's those who you interact with every single day and what you do in your house. And so I think too, especially with social media, it's like, oh, the more followers, the more likes. And it's like, no, like it's the person to your left, the person to your right. That's what truly matters. And we can make a difference now with those people. And so whether it be through the tournament or in my own, kids' lives, and I coach both my youngest, and my husband coaches the oldest. And so taking it one day at a time, but just enjoying it and enjoying the blessing and journey of life and what God has in store for our kids and for us. And it's been an exciting road for sure. And I got another adventure coming up, Dancing with the Stars.
Oh boy.
And so, yes, oh boy is right. And so we're managing, but I couldn't do it without a great support system. My mom is out here right now helping. And so I think you take it one day at a time and do the best you can and enjoy it.
Absolutely. So this has been wonderful talking to you. We have a final question that we ask all of our guests here on the podcast. So we'll ask it to you, Jennie. During this season of life, Dancing with the Stars, we didn't even talk about that, and everything else you're doing, what are you learning from Christ during this season of life? What has God been teaching you right now? What are you learning from him?
Oh my goodness. I think that quiet time is so important. Just be still and making sure that I get into that secret place with him, because that's what puts my heart and my mind in the right place, and my soul in the right place. And I want to be able to be all that he has called me to be. And if I'm not in that secret place, if I'm not getting fed from the word daily, then I'm not going to be able to fulfill that. And I think as much as the busyness comes, he's still telling us to slow down. And I'm thankful for that. And I'm thankful for his grace as well. And it's not about what others say or do. It's about what he says and who he has called me to be. I think it's a never-ending journey, right? Oh my gosh, there's so much to learn, so much growth to
Well, that's why I
happen,
always ask about what season it is, because it's different every season, right?
Yes, amen to that.
Awesome. Jennie, it's been wonderful to talk to you, to catch up with you, to hear your story, to hear your encouragement. Thanks for being a light for so many. Thanks for being a hero to so many, including my daughter, and we wish you nothing but the best. Thanks a lot.
Oh, thank you so much, Jason. Keep up the good work as well.
And we do thank Jennie Finch for joining us here on the Sports Spectrum podcast. Love her heart, love her willingness to be open and encourage, especially young girls, encourage them in the Lord and to dream and do the best that they can and be positive, and most importantly, to love Jesus. I love Jennie's heart and so grateful for her to be joining us here on the podcast. You can learn more by going to jenniefinch.com. Go to jenniefinch.com and check out all that she's doing, including Dancing with the Stars, which is crazy. And she's excited about that and training for that. And you can watch her over on ABC compete for the Dancing with the Stars title. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Sports Spectrum podcast, now sponsored by Compassion International. We are so excited about partnering with Compassion, the Christ-centered, church-based ministry. It simply works to help these kids, when you sponsor them, to get out of poverty. Because Christ doesn't want to see his children in poverty. He doesn't. And poverty prevents children from even the most basic needs for life. And when you sponsor a child for just $38 a month, you provide access to school care, medical care, to give them food to eat, vocational training to get them ready for jobs, and the opportunity, the most important thing, to know who Jesus Christ is. 150,000 children last year alone chose to follow Jesus Christ through Compassion. It works. I can't encourage you more. We sponsor a child from Haiti, and it's been a blessing to help little Alexandro just see the opportunity, see hope, see this willingness to be able to know that, you know what, I don't need to know where my next meal is coming from. That's the difference you can make when you sponsor a child through Compassion. So go to compassion.com, sponsor a child today. I promise you, you will not regret it. Thanks so much for joining us here on the podcast. As always, you can reach us on Twitter at sports_spectrum. And of course, you can email us, jason@sportsspectrum.com. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time right here on the Sports Spectrum Podcast.